Hello everyone, I'm Raghavendran from Vailman Engineering College, here to guide you through the Android developer course. Today, we are going to be seeing about programming basics with respect to Java. But programming languages is a special language used by programmers in order to develop software, scripts, and instructions for other set of computers and all those stuff. But when it comes down to programming, there are several programming languages like Node.js, JavaScript, AngularJS, C, C++, C Sharp, M Python, Java, HTML, Ruby, Ruby on Rails, Lua, Free Pascal, .NET, and there are a million other programming languages which we cannot comprehend into a single small picture. But let's we are going to be focusing only on Java. But the main keynote aspect of every programming language is it has to be running on a computer, basically some electronic device like a mobile phone, smartphone, or smartwatch, or something. All these programming languages has to be processed in an electronic device, and all these processing, that is, all our microprocessors and processors work only with zeros and ones. That is, a 5-volt signal is considered to be a 1, and a 0-volt signal is considered to be a 0. All our current electronic microprocessors or machines or electronic devices work only with the binary format, that is zeros and ones. So there comes three main aspects to be considered when we are getting into a programming language. So first off, our computers know only zeros and ones. They communicate, they process, and they translate or they transfer data in terms of zeros and ones only. We do not talk in binary. We do not process in binary either. So there is an intermediate group of programs called compiler, loader, linker, etc., which will be helping the computer to understand what we are saying. That is, whatever we write, that is, whatever program that we are going to instruct to the computer is considered to be a high level language. And these set of computer programs like compiler, loader, linker, and so on will be helping the computer to understand and translate the high level languages to the low level languages, that is to zeros and ones in the binary, so it can process the information and output the desired result. So since these compiler, loader, and linker and so on are going to be expecting some sort of input, it has to be in some sort of standardized way, right? So we come to one keynote consideration for learning any programming language. That is, we are supposed to be strong in the syntax, that is, the predefined writing style of any programming language. If we master the syntax of a programming language, then there is nothing more to learn in the programming language except a few libraries, key libraries, which will be helping us throughout the course of using that programming language. So, in order to use Java more efficiently, you are supposed to get used to the syntax of Java. So, coding comes with practice, and without any further ado, let's start with Java and let's learn about its syntax. So, Java on the whole is an object-oriented programming language. An object-oriented programming language is something you can simply correlate with as like it consists of classes and objects which will be depicting real-world entities. So we'll be discussing all about Java and object-oriented programming in the upcoming slides. So for simplicity, let me quote up a few examples. Coding is something very similar to cooking. So throughout this course, let's just imagine that we are some sort of cook and we are going to be cooking an omelette. So it will be very easy to correlate with the concepts. So let's just go ahead. Cooking requirements. Before we cook an omelette, we are going to be looking into ingredients. That is the basic stuff which we are going to be needing. Then the recipe, which will, so that we cook it the right way. The utensils, which in our case will be a pan, and the stove. Without fire, we are not gonna cook anything. So the ingredients in our case are gonna be egg, salt, and pepper. In the recipe, it's gonna be a simple omelette. The utensil, it's gonna be a simple pan. Stove, it's just gonna be a gas stove, so we are just gonna be putting a pan on it. So let's start correlating. So the base ingredients, that is the stuff that is required as in the atoms of the subject, are variables and keywords. So let's go ahead. So this is a very big table, but we are not going to be using all of this table. So these variables and keywords form the very basic of Java programming. So let's say, for example, we understand things in terms of numbers, alphabets, characters, strings, and so on. But the computer does not have any clear distinction between a character, a number, a decimal value, and so on. So they use some sort of keywords like int for integer, that is a normal number. So if you want to specify any decimal number for the computer to understand, you would have to give it in float or double. If you're gonna specify a single character like A, B, or C, you would have to give it in terms of char. If you're gonna give a really long string such as your name, you're gonna be using something called a string. So this is what are called keywords, and void is something like empty. So this keyword comes in handy in a few places. So we'll be discussing it while discussing the base syntax of Java. So let's go ahead. So let's come back to our egg concept or the omelette concept. So if the omelette is cooked, take it out of the pan. Else, put it in the pan. Let it rest in the pan. So if and else like keywords are considered to be our conditional statements. So if condition is true, proceed with the statement. If condition is not true, proceed with the else part. So if and else. So that is there. So they are called as our conditional statements. So next, moving upon, we find our looping statements for and while. So these statements are used when you want a process, when you want to define a process, a continuous process. So let's say, for example, let's come back to our omelette. So while the food is not cooked, keep cooking. So this loop goes on until your food is cooked, right? So these are simple ways to describe them. So for and while are like our looping statements. So let's just go ahead. So now comes the very important part. Now let's just take the omelette example to a few more escalated way. So let's imagine that you are a chef in some 5-star hotel. So you know the perfect recipe to make an excellent world-class omelette. So now, who are the people that have access to the recipe becomes a very important thing. So if you are a world-class chef and you do not want to reveal your secret recipe to anybody else, then you will be putting the access specifier as private, so that only you will be knowing it and nobody else will be able to know it. So that's there. So that is you, in the sense I am talking about you on whole as a class, as a person, will only be holding on to that data. So if you want the recipe to be for your children's also to be known, so whoever comes from you, that is all subclasses of your class, will be able to access the content if the access specifier is protected. If it is public, anybody from anywhere will be able to see your recipe and use your recipe. So now let's move on further. Now we come to the important part of Java. So Java is entirely made of classes. So classes, when several classes are clubbed together, they form packages. If you want to use a function of another class in your class, you have to import them, right? So you will be using this import keyword. The interface and abstract constructs will be discussed while programming in Android. So this keyword is also a very important keyword which will be used to specify the current object that is being processed of a certain class. So now let's just move on. So we talked about all our ingredients, and somehow we have to process all our ingredients, right? So there are different type of operators in respect to Java, like arithmetic operators, which will be our addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus. So this is something like it gets the remainder of an answer. So if you put something like 5 modulo 2, it returns 1 as the remainder. So that is what modulo is. So this thing stands for plus plus. So it is an increment operator. It increments the value by 1. So minus minus, it decrements the current value by 1. So plus equal to, it adds the same value to the current result and puts it back in the same variable. So let's say a plus equal to 5. So it is something similar to a equal to a plus 5. So that goes the same for all these things. So bitwise operators, these are the actual guys. So these guys actually do calculations in terms of binary. So they convert all the numbers to binary form and then they will do it. So for example, if you take the binary number of 7, it will be calculated like taking out the remainder of every digit with respect to division by 2. So we will be getting the binary number as in 111. So that will be for 7. So 7 and 2, it will be compared as in 111 with 10. So that is how the bitwise operators work. So it is a bit let's just go ahead with the relational operators. Relational operators basically work in terms of comparison. So equal to, so this thing compares two values, a value on the left to the value on the right, and if both are equal, they return the result as true. If the left side value is not equal to the right side value, so this thing, the not equal to symbol, it returns true if both of them are not equal, and returns false if both of them are equal. So greater than, if the left side 1 is greater than the right side 1, so it will be returning true, or else it will be returning false, and same goes for the rest. And less than or equal to, it checks if the value on the left is less than or equal to the value on the right. So if the condition is true, it returns true, else it returns false. So logical operators. So logical operators are used to club one or more relational values. For example, you would have already studied logical gates in your 11th standard, so it will be easy to relate to. So you will be studying something called as a truth table, where you will be taking two values such as a and b, and 0 and 0 will be 0, 0 and 1 will be 0, 1 and 0 will be 0, 1 and 1 will be 1, right? The same way it goes for, so true and true is true and the rest all is false. So in terms of OR, the table is exactly like if it is false and false, it's false, and for all other cases it's true. So that's how the logical statements actually work. The assignment operator is the most important operator of all, because it is used to assign the value on the right to the variable on the left. A variable is like a container which will be used to store the value of whatever thing that we want to store. So now we have got the ingredients, we have processed the ingredients. Now let's move on to a very important part, that is our recipe. So and now let's just, for time's sake, you just consider this one. Method name is max. So if you see inside this part, the body of the method, you will see something like if x is greater than y, return x. That is, if the value of x is greater than y, if the condition is true, it returns x. Else, if the condition is false, it is going to return y. The name of this function, that is the name of this recipe, is max. The values that are being passed to this max function are x and y. The return type of this function is integer. That is, once the function completes its execution, it is going to return a number. And the visibility parameter of this function is public, so that any class can be using this max function if they have just imported an object for that specific class. So for simple understanding, we have this is the syntax of a class. So this is the visibility parameter, this is the return type, this is the name of the class, this is the name of the method or the function or the recipe which we are gonna do. So this is the parameter list, that is our parameter 1 and parameter 2, which will be x and y. So if x is greater than y, it is gonna return x, else it is gonna be returning y. So let's move ahead. I think everybody will be familiar with this thing. This thing is called a stencil, right? So this stencil is like our Java class is like this stencil. So it provides a template sketch and it has certain properties. Like for example, this template, that is this stencil, it is made out of plastic. It is its property, and it can provide circles of different shape, different sizes. So this is the template, and any color reference that you put to this template are called objects. For example, this template could be used with any number of colors, that is any number of objects. You can paint it with red, blue, violet, but the template remains the same. In order to understand this a bit more easier, I have taken a more general example. So if you see on the right, we have some cute doggies. The first one is a Napoleon Mastiff, the second one is a Maltese, the third one is a Chow Chow, and all these are dogs. And all these dogs have certain attributes to them. For example, the Napoleon Mastiff is of large size, it is of age 5 and it is of color black. The second one, the Maltese, is of size small, it is of age 2 years, it is of color white, and the Chow Chow is of medium, 3 years, and brown. So these are attributes of dog. But all these dogs have some functions in common. That is, all these dogs do the same thing. That is, they eat, they sleep, they sit, and they run. So these are the things that the dogs are gonna do together. So all these dogs have things in common. So the Java class is like a template. So all the three categories of a dog, of these dogs, fall into the same template. That is, this classification of dog is applicable, that is, this class dog is applicable to every dog there is, right? Because it is gonna have the same attributes, it is gonna do the same kind of functions. So this is how Java classes are defined in general, and that's how we will be using the Java classes. So we have briefed upon several areas in basic part of the Java programming language. So before we get into actual programming, let's see a little bit more genuine stuff and then go in. So, I entirely forgot the actual part, that is Astau, the very important part where the entire cooking is gonna happen. So let's just get ahead. So as I told, the high level language has to become converted into zeros and ones so that the machine can understand it. So this is where our JRE comes in. That is, our Java development kit is where we are gonna basically send our code to process. So our JDK consists of two parts, that is our JRE and Java Development Tools. We will be focusing only on JRE. So JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment. This is the place where our high-level programming languages get converted into something called a bytecode, a Java bytecode. So this Java bytecode will be able to run on any machine. That is, it will be able to run on a Windows machine, it will be able to run on a Linux machine, it will be able to run on an iOS machine. It is independent of the OS it runs on because it is only zeros and ones. This bytecode can run on any machine, and these sort of stuff are supported by the Java virtual machine. I think you will already be familiar with what a virtual machine is, but for clarification once again, a virtual machine is something of another machine that is built into your host machine. So let's say, for example, you are using a Windows machine and you want to test out some kind of virus on your machine. So if you are just plugging a virus into your machine, you cannot sabotage your own machine, that will be suicide, right? So What we will be doing is we'll be taking something of a virtual machine. That is, we'll be creating or spoofing your system to believe that there is another machine, it is a new machine that is being built out of fresh, out of nothing. Like it is a virtual machine, it does not exist. Okay. So we'll be installing another OS of Windows into your virtual machine, which believes it is actually an entire computer system. We'll be plugging our virus into that virtual machine, and even if the virtual machine gets destroyed, our host machine is not affected by it. So that is what a virtual machine in general stands for. So this is where all the cooking happens. Our JDK supports JRE and Java development tools, which will be helping us to convert all the high level language stuff to zeros and ones. So let's see this example once and let's move on to the actual coding part. So here, as you can see, this is the visibility parameter of our class. Our class name is hello world. So this is done. So whenever a Java program starts, it will be looking for the main method. So this is our main method. So this string args is just a general parameter. You can name it anything. So string is basically used to define that it is gonna be a character based input. So it will be an alphabetical character based inputs. It will be parsing everything on further implementation. So coming down, we have written something like system.out.println print. So system.out.print hello world. So what this thing states is, this is basically in order to get a simple understanding, system is a class, out is a class that is built within the system class, and print is a function that is within the class, within the out class, which is under system class. So it goes for the same in terms of our main function. So as you can see, every function has a parameter, right? So the same way, the parameter for our print function is hello world. So this is how every Java program will be looking like. This is the general template of a Java program. So let's just go ahead. So I'm just gonna create a class named coding. So then we are gonna be starting our process of coding. We are gonna, and as I already told, every Java program on beginning, it's gonna be looking for its main function. So we are gonna be going ahead and declaring our main function. So it will be looking for the parameter which we are defining as string args. Then let's, as usual, let's just open up and close up a bracket. So now we are supposed to specify our return type, that is, and our access specifier. So now we specify our access specifier so that the method is public. So when the Java program runs, the actual compiler, loader or linker will be able to find the method that we are implementing, the main method, which is very essential. So the void is used to define the return type, since this program is not going to be returning anything. Now comes the important part, the static. So the static keyword is used to inform the system that this data has to be held by default in the memory. So since I have already told, the Java program on starting itself, it will be searching for the main keyword which is defined by default in it. So we are supposed to be defining it as public static void main. So now going further, it is int a equal to 5, and let's just go ahead and now print the addition of these two numbers. System is a class, dot out is a subclass of the system class, and println is a function of the out class. So let's go ahead, print ln, let's open the bracket, and let's just go ahead, hit something like addition of 5 and 6 is equal to 5 and 6 is equal to a plus b. So a plus b, and since our print ln statement accepts only string parameters, so we are going to be putting a plus over for concatenating the string. So we will just go ahead and run it in some online compiler. So I have already attached all the online compiler descriptions in the link, so you can find it from the description and you can access those links. So you just have to go ahead and type something like online Java compiler. You will find the online GDB compiler, I suppose. So here it is, the online GDB compiler. Go ahead and click it. So you will be loaded into the screen. You just go ahead and paste your code. So let's run it. Oops, we got an error. Okay. So you see the name of the program should be same as that of the class name. So we just have to change it to main, it seems. So it is main.java. So we'll just change it to main caps M-A-I-N. So that's done. So we are just running it. Again, it is just showing up an error because the string is not of defined format. But it doesn't matter if you're using an offline compiler. You can put it any way you want. You can just specify string and let everything rip apart. So let's just go ahead and string. So if we hit up run, so addition of a and b is equal to 11. So we are getting the right output. But if you want to actually learn programming with Java, that is an entirely different case. So we'll be going up with learning Java on a whole with the help of some sites such as HackerRank and so on. We'll be discussing it further. There are sites which will be helping us out in order to learn programming, and when you come to college, the first thing every college student would have to do is to register themselves up in sites like HackerRank or HackerEarth, which helps you in a very broad perspective in terms of placement. So you just hit sign up and you fill in the details. So once you come down a bit, you will find something as learn to code in 30 days. Just go ahead, go into it and come down a bit, read everything up there, the sample input and output. Change the programming language to Java 8 or Java 7. It doesn't actually matter if you're in Java 7 or Java 8. So let's just go ahead. So we'll just run our code, something that we have already tried out somewhere. When we run it, it will be showing, let's hope it does not show any error, but if it shows, we don't have to be worried of it. So it says something like A and B cannot be referenced from static context. That is, I think we have put it outside the function zone. Let's just go ahead and put it inside. So you just read the errors, so you will mostly figure out what the problem is. If you are not, there are many places to help. We'll see about that too. So we'll just put it up and hit run. So it says something like variable a is already defined. We have defined something like string a. So let's just change it to something. So we'll run it again. So we got the out. No, it doesn't give any output. Wait a minute. So the string method, again the string misses it. So since these are all online compilers, we don't have anything to worry about if we are using any offline compiler. We'll just follow the same format as they do. Let's just go ahead and hit up a square bracket over there. So if we run it, now we got our expected output, that we used all the operators such as addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So all you have to do is just practice it out more and more. So I'll solve another tutorial from this section, so help you in order to show how this entire thing works out. So let's just go ahead, read the input and the output format. So what they are saying is they are going to be giving us some input and we are supposed to be giving the output. They have already got some predefined input, it seems. We are just gonna have to add floating point numbers and we are gonna have to sum the existing data. Okay, right. Okay. What they have said is read and save an integer, double, and string to your variable. If you have any trouble reading the entire string, go back and review. Okay, they have already defined all these int, double, and string, it seems. So we'll just go ahead and erase it. And if you need to get input from the user, there is some other. So since in order to show output to the user, you used a library called system.out.println. You use that sort of statements, right? So in order to get input, you need another class. So that class is to be imported, and that class is stored in a specified location. So in order to get input from the user, we have to use something called system.in. So system is a class and in is a subclass, and we'll be using another class called scanner class. So double slashes, double forward slashes stand for single line comments, and slash with a star stand for multi-line comments in Java. So let's just go ahead, and if you need scanner class, you're gonna have to import it from java.utils. So if you just expand the arrow over there, I think you will be able to see that. So java.util.star. So java.util.scanner is the library that we need. Since they have specified star, they have imported all the packages inside java.util. So we'll already have that scanner package, it seems. So, and the worst part is they have already defined the scanner part, it seems. So let's just go ahead anyway. So scanner scan equal to, that is the scan is the object name. So we are creating a new scanner object. So class object name equal to new class name and the parameter, that is system.in. So this is how you create an object for a class. So they have told us to get input for an integer. So we'll just go ahead and get input for an integer. So a equal to scan dot next int. The first sample input is an integer. See, they have given 12. So we are just gonna go ahead and do that. Then the second one is a double. So we'll just go back and we'll put up next int. So we get the next integer that is being entered by the user. So in order to get the double, so we'll put something like next double. So in order to get a string, we have to use something called as next line. Let's see if our code works. Let's just print the output, actual output, that is we need the sum of two integers. We need the 2 times of the double value, and we also need the string. So let's just print it out. So let's see what happens. So we messed up semicolon, it seems. Let's just go ahead and put it up. So it is already defined. So let's just take out whatever we have. Let's just comment it out, and let's go ahead and see what's the output. So our actual output is just HackerRank. They are expecting us to concatenate the strings, which is not actually happening. So I'll try to clear out the buffer. There is something called as the buffer zone. So these are like several situations where you can get frustrated out of programming. So let's see, you get stuck in some kind of situation like me and you have no idea what to do. You just try out all possible things. So you go ahead, you try out all possible things, and yet you get the same result again and again. So at some point, if you need an external help, you can go to some place like view discussions, which will be on the top of the page. When you hit it, you will get the actual bar. So on the actual page, you can just look for your actually what is necessary. So we are looking for Java, so we'll just type in Java. So we'll get to the thread. So we'll see. So you see, string.next line returns the next line of the text if you are in the middle of the text and the remainder of the line. So these statements actually help us to figure out where we are going wrong. So you see, this guy has actually put something like scan.nextLine and s2 is equal to scan.nextLine. He has used it 2 times. Why he has used it 2 times is, if for example the next line function gets terminated with the advent of a space, whereas so if we are using the next line he is using that next line in order to move the buffer space that is present in between the starting of the sentence, and he is capturing the rest of the text until he finds an enter. So until he finds something called as the enter key, which if we press, it will be returning something like /RB0 something. So that is what he is using, a double buffered zone, that is scan.nextLine to remove that space that comes in between, and the next scan.nextLine will be used to get the actual input into the string s2. So you can head to the discussions to find out where you're going wrong, and you can just go ahead and apply that in your program, and you will get the correct output. So, and the best way to learn a programming language is by doing it. Okay, so try to solve as many programs in 30 days of code as possible. So you can try this out. It is all simple math which we have already done. So we'll just go ahead and discuss whatever doubts you have in the evening Zoom session, and we'll have an extended conversation about how to code in Java efficiently with respect to Android Studio and all these things. So I hope I'll catch you up in evening Zoom class. I request all of you to attend the class. Thank you.